All right, today we are going to talk about our final two animal groups, birds and insects. So these are two separate animal groups, but we're going to talk about them both this week. So first, let's talk about birds. So birds are animals that have feathers and wings on their bodies. So some of the characteristics of birds can lay eggs, and look at the difference in these two different types of eggs. So here is an ostrich egg, and look how big that egg is, that it could fit in someone's hand, just barely even in just one hand. And then these are robin's eggs, and these are considerably smaller. So keep that in mind that not all bird eggs look the same. Birds can have feathers and wings. They also have 2 feet. They have toothless beaks, which means they have these kind of mouths, but they do not have teeth. And they also have a skeleton inside their body, just like you and I do. So look at this bald eagle's beak, and look how it has a sharp point here on the end. And think about how that sharp beak might help him to catch food. But think about other birds, like ducks or even seagulls, that might have more of a flat beak. And think about how birds, the way that their different beaks are designed, might help them to catch their food. And finally, birds are warm-blooded animals. So the opposite of cold-blooded, warm-blooded means that their body temperature stays the same no matter if it's warm or cold outside. And here are just a few examples of birds. There are lots of different kinds of birds that you've probably seen either in your backyard or at the zoo. But here are 4 examples. We have penguins, flamingos, this is called a toucan, and then chickens. So here are some questions to think about when we think of birds. Have you ever seen or touched a bird before? What did it look like or feel like? Do all birds fly? So yes, all birds have wings, but think about if all the birds we know fly. How do birds' beaks help them eat? How do feathers protect birds? And finally, how can we as humans help protect birds? And next, we're going to talk about insects. So insects are animals that have 3 body parts and 6 legs. That's important to remember when we are identifying insects. So insects also can lay eggs. Insects have 6 legs and 3 body parts. And these 3 body parts are called the head, thorax, and abdomen. They have 2 antennae, and they have a hard exoskeleton. An exoskeleton is going to be the outer layer of their body. It's called an exoskeleton, and it is hard, and they can shed this exoskeleton. So here's an example. Here's a ladybug, and we can see it has its 6 legs. And then on this bumblebee, we see the head. This is the thorax in the middle, and then the abdomen. And then here are also the 2 antennae. Sometimes when we talk about certain insects, we talk about their life cycles, and one of the more popular ones that we talk about a lot is the butterfly life cycle. So remember that in a life cycle, it's something that repeats and it goes over and over. So first we have the adult butterfly is going to lay eggs, and these are what butterfly eggs might look like. Think about how small those are compared to birds' eggs. After the eggs hatch, we have a tiny larva, which we might know as a caterpillar. Then the larva gets bigger and it goes to hide in this, what we call a pupa. Sometimes you might hear it called a chrysalis or a cocoon, but it's basically a little shelter that it's going to hide in. And we know that it's going to stay there for a while and eventually turn into and hatch into a beautiful adult butterfly. And then the cycle repeats over and over. So looking at this picture, think about how this is considered a baby and this is the adult. Do they look the same or different? And here are some questions to think about for insects. So have you seen or touched an insect before, and what did it feel like or look like? and think about all the many different types of insects in our world. Do you think that insects are good or bad for the earth? And it could be some of both. And then finally, how can we as humans help protect insects? So that's just a little bit more information about birds and insects.